at any moment and say, oh, that we saw something, you're unsatisfactory. And you have 30 days to improve, and they give you a list of this is what you need to improve on. And if you don't improve in those 30 days, you're fired. Yeah. And they started that process on me, actually. And you're unsatisfactory, you know, this is the prescription, and if you don't meet the prescription, you're fired. That's basically what I'm seeing right now.
So before I open it to their questions, how about the opposite side? Are the unions helping you out in supporting this movie?
Yeah, we had some tremendous support by the Boston Teachers Union and also the American Federation of Teachers in Massachusetts. We had a premiere, New England premiere, where we had 250 people at, and we've got some great spirited support from the union in Boston and Massachusetts.
Isn't this something that you should show to President Obama and hopefully get the support from?
Well, that's the issue. There is a difficulty in getting this message out. There's millions of teachers out there. There's millions of families, family members, and people that are concerned about education. And we'd love to have President Obama see it and possibly consider some serious changing of his education policies, because he's going down the road. We heard people talk about race to the top and no child left behind, and all those issues. For example, when in Central Falls, which is in part 2 of the movie, this is part 1, Central Falls, they fired all the teachers in Central Falls, Rhode Island High School, as a model to improve the school, a failing school. And President Obama came out and supported that, and has come out and supported that kind of, you know, so-called way to improve our schools. So there are some real issues we'd love to talk to President Obama about, and people are trying to talk to him, and we're working on that. That's one of the reasons we made the move. If anybody knows President Obama personally, we'll give you a copy, and, you know, we'd love to have him see it.
The reason why I mentioned that is I know for a fact you have a DVD.
Yeah.
And it's part 1 and 2. I actually opted to just show part 1, and then they're going to talk about part 2 right now. And they do have DVDs in their bags that they can sell to you guys to support them. A lot of the movies, the last few days, they have watched it in support. So please support them as well. They're going to show you their DVDs at the tail end. So please ask them about it. But please tell us what is on part 2, and I'm going to open it to the question and answer portion.
Okay, just briefly, part 2 has 3 chapters in it. 1 shows the struggle in Central Falls, where all the teachers were fired, and their struggle to get rehired, and also to deal with the situation in Central Falls, Rhode Island. And the other chapter is about Wisconsin. People probably remember last year when Governor Walker tried to eliminate collective bargaining, and did successfully eliminate it. And there was a big recall election that just happened. Well, we have a chapter that shows that fantastic scene out there in the rotunda, where there was a huge response to that by a unified movement of teachers and public employees and supporters in that rotunda in Wisconsin. And then the last chapter shows the struggle in Boston of the school closings, where there were 11 schools closed. And it goes through that whole struggle, public testimony. Actually, part 2 of the movie, I think, is very exciting. It's showing all those actions that were happening. Do you want to mention something, Ron?
Well, I guess that when it comes down to it, the movie's more about just education. It's about people having some power to make decisions for their own lives when these corporations and corporate money we really need to come together and support each other so that our voices are heard and we get to have some economic equality. I think that's basically what it all comes down to.
Yes,
Yeah.
Questions? Chris?
I come from the Philippines, and in Baltimore, for instance, they under the Obama No Child Left Behind program, they had hired teachers from the Philippines to teach in the inner city schools, tough schools, and the Filipino teachers had to adjust a lot. I was wondering how that connects to the fact that right here, teachers are being pushed out if they don't comply with the standards, and then yet they're hiring teachers from other countries.
Well, we're seeing that a lot. We're not seeing so many teachers being hired from other countries, but we are seeing experienced teachers pushed out because basically they want to hire younger teachers to pay them less money, and also hopefully they're hoping that the seniority and benefit packages become less, because with unions, inner city teachers do get paid, a decent living now, which people think is too much money. So it really, I think they just want to be able to hire less expensive help.
And that brings up the issue of it's an age-old tactic of divide and conquer, divide the younger teachers and older teachers, and teachers that maybe aren't experienced. Really, we talked about in the movie about the need for collaboration, a need for spirit of unity in the school. And I think there's a real crisis of leadership in the country amongst the administration of the schools, administration of the cities and towns, where you will use divisive tactics and will create this atmosphere of fear and intimidation in the school, rather than creating this collaborative environment. That's really key, is that kind of collaborative environment where everybody's working together, and they're not dividing teachers, they're not going after teachers. They're celebrating the experience of teachers and setting up a situation where experienced teachers can share with younger teachers, share ideas and help mentor some of the younger teachers. That's really what we need, where everybody can work together on that, and that's coming under attack.
You have one fast question, because we need to wrap up. Like a really short question that they can answer.
When you interviewed the teachers for the movie, were they all different years of experience? Because, I mean, some, obviously the younger ones you could tell, but...
Yeah. Pretty much. We actually had way more teachers that we interviewed, and frankly, a lot of the younger teachers were afraid to speak up. So that's why.
That's what I was.
Yeah, they're definitely, because if you're not tenured, those first 3 years were very critical. Although that's changed with the new evaluation system. There's one person, her name's April. She looked like a student, but she was just so fired up that she wanted to talk. But others, basically, lots of people wanted to talk but were afraid, and that's really indicative of what people are afraid to lose their jobs.
Yeah, it's true. Even a lot of the experienced teachers who have been teaching for 20 years didn't want to be interviewed. They were afraid to be interviewed because of the repercussions. And they had experience in the schools where if you speak up, and that's what we talked about, if you speak up in a school, if the principal wants to do some crazy thing that's really bad pedagogy, really bad educational practices, maybe the older teachers sometimes will speak up, and then they come under attack. So it really doesn't matter if it's older or younger. You're subject to attack whether you're in the union, whether you're or not. They can find ways to abuse the evaluation system and come after you. But there were, obviously there were a number of teachers that were strong enough to speak out, even though they know there was some possible repercussion. And then we did have some retired teachers who were in a better position to speak out and had taught for 20, 25 years.
So I actually want to commend you guys. Well, you guys are nominated as our best documentary. I'd like to commend you guys for the way you edited it so fast-paced, and even becomes more fast-paced when you see it on screen, and making it entertaining. you put the education when you put arts, you put the arts and you put them in frame like that. And what I found so funny was the animation, because everybody uses that in YouTube.
Yeah,
So
that's
people
right.
can relate to it. So I'd like to congratulate you as a nominee of our best documentary. Please feel free to meet them at the lobby for photo ops. But lastly, just say your names and your little advice to filmmakers out there creating a documentary.
Okay. I'm Bob Lamothe, and I created the documentary Teachers Are Talking, Is the Nation Listening? And if you have a message, an important message that needs to be heard, make the movie, tell your story. There's lots of stories that need to be heard that aren't getting heard because of the stranglehold over the media of these kind of important stories that have an alternative viewpoint.
I'm Yvonne Lamothe. Teachers Are Talking, and I think it's important. Sometimes we get caught up in all the glitz of what society is throwing at us. So it's important just to take the risk and say what you need to say, because pretty soon they're not going to let us say too much. So much for our freedom.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So let's give them on the red carpet. Congratulations.